Chosen one. Before this Sunday slips by, like every other day you've survived, I need you to stop, right now, and hear me clearly. Not everyone watching this was meant to find it today. You were. And that is not a compliment, that is a warning wrapped in mercy. Here is the truth. Nobody in your life has had the courage to say out loud you have learned how to live, disappointed, without calling it that. You've kept functioning, kept showing up, kept smiling at the right moments. But something inside you has been grieving for longer than you can remember. Something in your spirit has been standing completely still while your life kept moving around it like a river around a stone. You felt it sitting in church. You felt it at the kitchen table on a quiet Sunday morning. You felt it in the car, alone, when the song came on and something cracked open in your chest that you couldn't explain. That wasn't weakness. That was a signal, because there is a locked room inside your soul, and this Sunday, the door is beginning to open. Most people will move through today the way they move through every Sunday. Coffee, routine, another week, beginning before the last one is finished. They will miss what is unfolding entirely. But you are not most people. This Sunday is not significant because of the date. It is significant because of what it exposes. Like a sunrise already forming beneath the horizon before the sky even knows to change. Something has been building beneath the surface of your life, quietly, in the dark, for years. And before this day ends, it will become undeniable. 3 questions I need you to hold. What exactly is God trying to reveal this Sunday, and not a Sunday later? Why are the people most spiritually tired the first to recognize this moment? And what kind of person walks right past the unopened letter that had their name on it? I'm going to answer all 3 before this message is over. But right now, if something in your spirit confirms that this week has not felt ordinary, type these words: I'm paying attention. Because chosen one, what comes next is specifically for you. Let me ask you something honest. How many Sundays have you sat in the same chair, read the same scripture, whispered the same prayer, and walked away feeling like heaven didn't move an inch? How many times have you dressed up your hope, carried it to the altar, and drove home in silence? If you've been walking with God for any real length of time, you know exactly what I'm describing. And somewhere along the way, without even realizing it, you made a quiet decision. You stopped expecting breakthrough to knock. You stopped calling it hope. You started calling it realism. You learned how to protect your heart by lowering what you asked for. Because a heart that doesn't reach too high can't fall too far. That is not a character flaw. That is the scar tissue of a faithful person who has waited a long time. But chosen one, I need to tell you something that may be the most important thing you hear this entire week. The danger is not that God has been absent. The danger is that you've been trained by delay so long you might mistake arrival for just another ordinary day. And that is exactly what the enemy is counting on. Now stay with me, because I need to give you language for what you've been feeling. Real language. Biblical language. Language that explains why some days in your life felt charged with meaning and others felt like empty calendar squares. The ancient writers understood something the modern world has almost completely forgotten. They had 2 entirely separate words for time. Not 1, 2. The first was Kronos. Kronos is the clock on your wall. It's Tuesday becoming Wednesday. It's another month ending. It's measured, predictable, mechanical. Kronos asks nothing of you. It just moves. But the second word, Kairos, that is something altogether different. Kairos is appointed time. It is the specific, prepared, heaven-directed window when what has been building in the invisible finally breaks through into the visible. Ecclesiastes 3:1 says it plainly. There is a season for everything, and a time for every purpose under heaven. Not a Kronos, a Kairos, a purpose-filled moment that was written before you were born. And here is where it gets uncomfortably personal. Luke 19:44. Jesus is weeping, actually weeping over Jerusalem. And he says something that should stop every one of us cold. He says they did not recognize the time of their visitation. God showed up. The moment arrived, and they were so trained by centuries of waiting, so conditioned by disappointment, so hardened by unrealized expectation, they walked right past the miracle without recognizing it. They didn't miss it because they were rebellious, they missed it because they were tired. Read that again slowly. They were tired. Some people miss sacred moments, not because they have turned away from God, but because exhaustion taught them not to look up anymore. Think about a train station. You've been waiting on that platform so long that when the train finally pulls in, you assume it's going somewhere else. You don't even pick up your bag. You just watch it arrive and watch it leave, because your heart stopped believing your name was on the ticket. Think about a seed buried under frozen ground in January. From the surface, nothing is happening. It looks dead. It looks finished. But underneath, in the dark, in the silence, life is reorganizing itself for an eruption that the cold ground cannot stop forever. Think about the tide. The shoreline doesn't feel the turn coming. The water looks the same. But miles out, the entire ocean has already shifted direction. And what looks still on the surface is already moving toward you with unstoppable momentum. Chosen one, what if that is exactly where you are right now? Habakkuk 2-3 says it with fire. The vision awaits its appointed time. Though it linger, wait for it. It will certainly come. Not might come, not possibly come, will come. Heaven does not make appointments, it doesn't keep. And Esther 4:14. Oh, this one has to land in your chest today. Mordecai looks at Esther and says, who knows whether you have not come to this position for such a time as this? Not eventually, not someday. Such a time as this specific Sunday, this specific season, this specific moment in your story that you almost scrolled past. So, let me ask you the hard question, the one that matters more than any other right now. What if the very weariness you feel today is proof that your Kairos is closer than it has ever been? What if God has been quiet not because he forgot you, but because the seed he planted in your life needed the full winter to develop the root system strong enough to hold the harvest he's about to release? What if this Sunday is not more of the same? What if this is the morning the tide turns and you almost stayed asleep? If you've ever been so disappointed that you quietly trained from yourself not to hope too much, let that be honest before God today, not as shame, as surrender. Because Kairos moments don't require your perfection, they only require your presence. And before this message is over, I'm going to show you the 3 signs, specific, undeniable signs, that what you're feeling right now is not spiritual fatigue. It is spiritual awakening. And one of them is already happening inside you as you listen to these words. Chosen one, I need to stay close to you right here. Because what I'm about to say, most people will never say it to your face. You have lived long enough to be disappointed more than once. Not the small disappointments, not the inconveniences, the ones that rewired you, the ones that changed how you pray, changed how you hope, changed how far you let yourself believe before you quietly pull back just enough to protect what's left. You have trusted people who failed you, not strangers. People, the ones who were supposed to stay, the ones you built something with, the ones whose names are still attached to prayers you stopped finishing out loud. You have prayed over marriages, over children, over finances that kept slipping through your hands no matter how tightly you held, over health that didn't return the way you asked, over doors that stayed shut so long you eventually stopped knocking, not because you stopped believing in God, but because somewhere along the way you stopped believing he was still moving for you, specifically. And here is the part nobody talks about in church on Sunday morning. You kept going anyway. You kept showing up, kept functioning, kept being strong for everyone around you. And somewhere in the middle of all that surviving, something in you went very, very quiet. That silence has a name. And it is not peace. Scripture says in Proverbs 13:12, hope deferred makes the heart sick, not weak, not sinful, sick. There is a weariness that develops in a soul that has stretched towards something for years and watched it not arrive. And the most dangerous thing about that weariness is how reasonable it begins to feel. You start calling it maturity. You start calling it wisdom. You start saying things like, "I've made my peace with it," when the truth is, you haven't made peace. You've made distance. There is a difference. You are living in a house you have emotionally already moved out of. The furniture is still there. You still walk the same hallways. But something in you checked out a long time ago, and you've been going through the motions in rooms that no longer feel like home. That is not maturity, chosen one. That is a wound that never got named. And here is the truth that should shake something loose in your chest right now. The enemy does not always need to destroy your faith. Sometimes he only needs to convince you to stop expecting. That is a quieter strategy. And it works on the strongest people. The ones who have endured the most. The ones whose theology is solid, whose attendance is consistent, whose exterior looks completely fine while inside something has been carrying winter in the body while spring has already started moving outside. Look at Elijah, one of the most powerful prophets who ever walked the earth, called fire down from heaven, stood alone against 450 false prophets. And then, just days later, he was under a tree in the wilderness, asking God to take his life, not because he lost faith, because he was exhausted, because he had given everything and felt like nothing had changed. 1 Kings 19:4. That is not a weak man's story. That is the story of a chosen one who ran out of emotional reserves. And God's response was not a sermon. It was not a rebuke. God sent an angel with bread and water and said, "The journey is too great for you." He saw the wound before he addressed the assignment. That is what this Sunday is. God seeing the wound before he addresses what comes next in your story. You have reached the age where some people, some well-meaning, deeply mistaken people, assume your story is winding down, that the most significant chapters are behind you, that what remains is simply the quiet, careful management of what's left. While God, the same God who called Abraham at 75, who used Moses at 80, who gave Sarah her miracle in the season, every human calendar said was finished, that God may be standing over your life right now saying something entirely different. It is not winding down, it is finally becoming clear. But here is the danger. Here is the thing that should create urgency in you right now. The deepest risk is not that this Sunday passes. It is that it passes, and you remain emotionally locked inside an old season that God already started ending. That you miss the open door because you stopped believing there were doors left with your name on them. So let me ask you something direct. And I need you to sit with this honestly. When was the last time you expected something from God, not just believed in Him, but expected something without immediately preparing yourself for disappointment? If you had to think about that for more than 3 seconds, this word is for you. If something in you has been becoming smaller just to survive, don't hide from that right now. Bring it into the light, because the locked room inside your soul that I mentioned at the beginning of this message, it doesn't open by force. It opens when you finally stop pretending it isn't there. You are standing at the shoreline in boots built for a storm that has already passed. And chosen one, it is time to take them off. Because what God is about to show you in the next part of this message is not about your past. It is about what has been quietly, unmistakably forming just beneath the surface of everything you thought was finished. Let me take you somewhere. Not a church, not a sanctuary with stained glass and polished pews. I want to take you to a garden outside Jerusalem early morning, before the sun had fully committed to rising, where a woman named Mary was walking toward what she believed was the end of the story. She wasn't walking toward hope. She was walking toward grief management. She was bringing spices to anoint a body. She was doing what broken people do after loss. She was administering the end. And here is what I need you to feel, not just understand. Heaven had already moved. The stone was already rolled away. The grave was already empty. Resurrection had already happened while Mary was still at home crying, still lacing up her sandals, still rehearsing her sorrow, still organizing her grief into something manageable. God did not wait for Mary's emotional readiness. He did not wait for Peter's theology to catch up. He did not wait for the disciples to stop hiding behind locked doors before he turned the entire axis of human history. Sunday had already happened before anyone knew how to speak that word out loud. Now, chosen one, I need to ask you something that is going to cut straight through to the center of your chest. What if the thing you have been mourning is already over and you just haven't received the news yet? What if the chapter you keep rereading, the one with all the pain in it, the one with the silence and the unanswered prayers and the doors that stayed shut, what if God already turned the page and you're still standing at the tomb with your spices, preparing to anoint something he already resurrected? That is not poetry, that is the pattern of Scripture, because it wasn't just Mary. Go back further. Joshua stood at the edge of the Jordan River flood season, banks overflowing, no bridge, no boat, no rational crossing point. And God said, "Step in first, then I'll part the water," not the other way around. The miracle was waiting on the other side of the step that looked like foolishness. Go back further still. Elijah, exhausted and alone on Mount Carmel, pressed his face to the ground and told his servant, "Go, look toward the sea." Nothing. Go again. Nothing. 7 times the servant walked and returned with nothing. And on the 7th time, the servant said, "I see a cloud, small as a man's hand." Elijah didn't wait for the downpour. He said, "Get up. I hear the sound of heavy rain." He heard the rain before a single drop had fallen. He moved on the sound of something only his spirit could perceive. That is the kind of Sunday we are standing inside of right now. Not a Sunday that announces itself with thunder. A Sunday that comes quietly the way dawn arrives, while grief still believes it is night. The way the stone gets rolled away before the mourners reach the garden. The way God writes the next chapter while the reader is still weeping over the last page. And then there is Esther. 12 months of hidden preparation. 12 months of a process she didn't choose, in a palace she didn't plan for, surrounded by uncertainty she couldn't resolve. And then her Sunday came, and Mordecai said 7 words that shook eternity. For such a time as this. Not later. Not when you feel ready, not when the fear goes away. This time, this moment, this Sunday, here is the theological truth. That most people never slow down long enough to receive. God consistently changes reality before he changes your emotional interpretation of it. The resurrection happened before the disciples' grief did. The Jordan parted after the feet went in, not before. The rain came after Elijah declared it, not before he spoke. Which means, and I need you to sit with this, your feelings about your situation are not always an accurate report of what God has already done. You may be waiting to feel the shift before you believe it happened. But chosen one, that is not how Sunday works. Sunday doesn't ask for your emotional confirmation. Sunday arrives anyway. Heaven moves anyway. The stone rolls anyway. And here is what makes this particular Sunday unlike the last 40 you have sat through without something breaking open. You are not the same person who walked into last Sunday. Something has been building in you. Something has been forming beneath the surface of your silence, your endurance, your private prayers that you stopped telling people about because you got tired of explaining hope to people who had already made peace with your limitations. You may be expecting this Sunday to feel dramatic. You may be waiting for the fireworks, the lightning bolt of certainty, the overwhelming emotion, the unmistakable sign written across the sky. But Mary didn't hear thunder. She heard her name spoken by a voice she recognized. One word, her name, and everything changed. That is how holy moments begin, not as spectacle, as quiet recognition, as the unmistakable, undeniable sense deep in the place where you stop performing and start being honest that you cannot go back to the person you were last week. Don't just watch this as information. Listen as someone standing at the edge of a decision, because the 3 signs that confirm this Sunday is not just another day in your story, they are coming next. And the first one is going to explain something about the last season of your life that nothing else has been able to explain. Stay with me. Chosen one, I promised you 3 signs, and I need you to receive these not as a checklist, but as a mirror. Because what I'm about to describe is not something happening to you, it is something happening in you. And the difference between those two things is everything. The first sign is restlessness without a reasonable explanation. Not anxiety, not the ordinary worry about bills or health or the grandchildren. This is something deeper, something quieter, a low hum beneath your daily life that no amount of distraction has been able to silence. You wake up in the morning, and before the day even begins, something in you is already searching, already alert, already listening for something you cannot name. The prophet Jeremiah described it this way: "His word was in my heart like a burning fire shut up in my bones." Jeremiah 20:9. He could not contain it. He could not explain it. He could only feel that something inside him was pressing forward, whether he was ready or not. That is not restlessness born from fear. That is restlessness born from readiness. Your soul knows something is shifting even when your mind hasn't caught up yet, even when the calendar looks ordinary, even when nothing on the outside has visibly changed. The question is not whether you feel it. The question is whether you are willing to stop calling it nervousness and start calling it what it actually is: a signal from a God who does not waste signals. The second sign is that certain things have started feeling too small. And I want to speak directly to those of you who have lived long enough to know the difference between outgrowing something and simply being ungrateful. This is not ingratitude. This is not arrogance. This is something the Apostle Paul named with surgical precision when he wrote, "When I became a man, I put away childish things." 1 Corinthians 13:11. There are conversations you used to participate in that now feel like wearing a coat 3 sizes too small. Environments that once felt comfortable now feel like a room running out of air. Roles you carried faithfully for decades that now feel like old skin, and your spirit is pressing against the edges of it, not out of rebellion, but because you have grown beyond what used to contain you. For those of you who are further along in years, this sign carries a particular weight. You find yourself revisiting old memories, not with nostalgia, but with a strange new clarity. You want quiet more than you used to. Not the quiet of giving up, the quiet of someone who finally has ears sharp enough to hear what the noise was always covering. You are grieving what no longer fits. And that grief is not weakness. That grief is sacred. It means something real is ending, so something truer can begin. New wine cannot be put into old wineskins. Jesus said that in Luke 5:37, not as poetry, as a warning. If you try to pour what God is releasing into the container of who you used to be, something will break. Either the new wine spills, or you do. God is not asking you to break, He is asking you to expand. The third sign, and this one may be the most uncomfortable of all, is that the truth has become harder to avoid. About people, about direction, about the boundaries you have stretched past their limit, trying to keep everyone else comfortable. About the calling you have quietly shelved because the timing never felt right, and the years kept passing, and at some point you stopped asking whether it was still real. Things you tolerated 6 months ago now feel spiritually expensive in a way you cannot afford anymore. Relationships that drained you but felt familiar. Habits that numbed you but felt safe. Silence about things that mattered because speaking the truth felt like too high a price. But chosen one, listen to me. You are running out of reasons to keep pretending you don't see what you see. Because here is the moment of clarity this Sunday, is trying to hand you the sign, is not that everything around you changed overnight. The sign is that you can no longer pretend not to see what has already changed inside you. That is the aha. That is the crack in the wall where the light gets through. You have been surviving inside, a version of your life that stopped fitting you, and part of you has known it for longer than you are comfortable admitting. The question Sunday is asking you is not, what will you do next? The question is, how much longer will you act like you don't already know? If these 3 signs are speaking your language, if your spirit is saying yes to even one of them, I want you to write these words right now. This Sunday is different. And then I want you to think of one person in your life, someone who has been carrying a quiet weariness for longer than they've spoken about, and send them this message. Because some people are standing at the same threshold, and they need someone to tell them the door is real. Now stay with me, because I just showed you the 3 signs. But even when all 3 are present, even when a person feels every single one of them, there is still one thing that causes a chosen soul to stand at the open door and walk away. One thing. And it has nothing to do with faith. It has everything to do with what unhealed disappointment does to a willing heart. That is what comes next. Chosen one, I need to say something that most people in your life have been too polite to tell you. You are not missing sacred moments because you stopped believing. You are missing them because you are exhausted. And exhaustion has a way of making the most important door in your life look like just another wall. So before we go any further, I need to name the 3 traps. Because right now, at least one of them is working on you. And if you don't see it clearly, this Sunday will pass like every other Sunday that was carrying something you never opened. The first trap is emotional exhaustion. Scripture says in Galatians 6-9, "Let us not grow weary in doing good, for in due season we will reap if we do not give up." Did you catch that? If we do not give up. Not if we perform perfectly. Not if we have it all figured out. The only condition on the harvest is that you don't quit right before it arrives. But here is what exhaustion does. It doesn't make you quit out loud. It makes you postpone. It whispers, "Not today. I'll deal with this next week. I'll pray about it when I have more strength. I'll be ready when things calm down." And the sacred moment sitting right in front of you gets pushed to a someday that never actually comes. Some of you have been postponing your own breakthrough for years, not because you stopped believing in God, but because you stopped believing the breakthrough was still meant for you. The second trap is familiar distraction. This one is quieter, more dangerous. It doesn't look like rebellion. It looks like a full calendar. It looks like being needed by everyone around you. It looks like busyness that feels productive, while the most important conversation of your life is sitting like unopened mail on your kitchen table. Day after day, week after week, you walk past it, you see it, you tell yourself you'll get to it, and it just sits there. Proverbs 4:23 warns us, "Above all else, guard your heart, for everything you do flows from it." Guard it, not just from sin. Guard it from noise. Guard it from the comfortable routine that keeps you moving without ever arriving anywhere. Because the enemy doesn't always come at you with chaos. Sometimes he comes at you with a schedule so full that you never have a quiet moment long enough to hear what God has been trying to say for the last 3 years. The third trap, and this one will shake some of you, is false humility. This is the one nobody talks about in church. Because it sounds spiritual, it sounds safe, it sounds like surrender, but it is not. It is something much darker, dressed in religious clothing. It sounds like this kind of moment isn't for me. I'm too old for a turning point. God uses younger people for things like this. I had my chances. I missed them. I've made my peace with a smaller life. Let me say something directly to that voice in your head. You have not made peace with a smaller life because God told you to. You made peace with it because disappointment taught you to. And chosen one, that is not humility. That is a wound wearing church clothes. True humility says, "Lord, I am nothing without you." But what I just described says something far more dangerous. It says, "Lord, even you cannot do something extraordinary with what is left of me." That is not humility. That is unbelief with good manners. Jeremiah 29:11 doesn't say, "For I know the plans I have for the younger version of you." It doesn't say, "For I knew the plans before the disappointments came." It says, "I know," present tense, right now, over your life, as it actually is today. God does not look at your age and see expiration. He looks at your endurance and sees evidence. Now I need to ask you something that might be the most important question you hear today. What if this Sunday is not asking you to become someone else entirely, but simply asking you to stop shrinking? What if the assignment was never lost? What if it was just waiting for the version of you that stopped apologizing for still being alive? You do not miss holy moments only through rebellion. You can miss them through delay. You can miss them through exhaustion. You can miss them by being the person who falls asleep in the waiting room right at the moment your name is finally called. Don't be that person today, because the sacred is not always loud. It doesn't always shake the building. Sometimes it arrives quietly, the way a sunrise forms beneath the horizon before the sky even knows to change. It's already happening. The light is already moving. The question is whether you are awake enough to see it. Some of you reading this right now, something just shifted in your chest. That tightness, that strange mix of recognition and resistance, that is not coincidence. That is the locked room inside your soul, recognizing the sound of the key. And before this message is over, I am going to give you something concrete, something you can carry with you for the rest of this Sunday. I call it the Sunday Protocol, the exact inner posture God is asking of you before this day ends. Stay with me, because what comes next is not just spiritual encouragement. It is your specific instruction for this specific hour. Chosen one, stay with me, because everything I've shown you up to this point, the recognition, the pain, the quiet grief, you've been carrying like a stone in your chest for longer than you'll admit. None of it matters if Sunday ends and you do nothing with it. And this is where most people lose the miracle. Not because they stopped believing, but because they stayed busy right through the moment God was trying to hand them something permanent. Proverbs 4:23 says it plainly, "Guard your heart, for everything you do flows from it. Not your schedule, not your reputation, not your obligations, your heart." And right now, on this specific Sunday, your heart is the battlefield and the sanctuary at the same time. So I'm going to give you 4 steps, not a theology lecture, not a checklist you forget by Tuesday. 4 real, honest, soul-level movements that if you do them before this Sunday ends, will change the direction of what comes next. Step 1, get quiet. Not quieter, quiet. I'm not talking about turning off the television. I'm talking about the kind of stillness that most people in this generation are genuinely terrified of. Because when everything goes silent, what rises to the surface is exactly what we've spent years learning to suppress. The grief, the unanswered question, the version of your life that never became what you believed it would. But here is what I need you to understand. That silence is not emptiness. That silence is God unclenching the noise, so he can finally be heard without competition. Psalm 46:10 doesn't say, "Try to be still." It says, "Be still and know." The knowing comes after the stillness, not before. Stop trying to hear God over the volume of your own avoidance. Clear the table, open the curtains. Let the light come in, even if the room has been dark for a long time. Step 2. Ask one honest question, just one. And ask it like you mean it. What in me is this Sunday trying to expose? Sit with that. Don't rush to answer it. Don't perform a spiritual response. Let it land in the deep place where real answers live. Because for some of you, what surfaces will be grief you never properly buried. For others, it will be a calling you stopped pursuing because someone convinced you it was too late. For some, it will be a relationship you've stayed in out of fear and called it faithfulness. For others, it will be the slow, silent habit of making yourself smaller so the people around you stay comfortable. Self-abandonment, dressed up as humility, is still self-abandonment. And God is not asking you to maintain the disguise one more Sunday. James 1-5 promises, "If any of you lacks wisdom, ask God and it will be given." But you have to actually ask, not perform the question. Ask it from the raw, uncurated place inside you that still knows the truth, even when your mouth has learned to say otherwise. Step 3. Release what no longer belongs. This is the step that costs something. And because it costs something, most people skip it entirely and wonder why nothing changes. There is a false version of you that you have been maintaining, a label someone put on you decades ago that you adopted because it was easier than fighting it. A bitterness you've held so long it feels like identity, a fear you've dressed as wisdom, a delay you've justified as patience. Chosen one, unclench your fists. You cannot receive what Sunday is offering, while your hands are full of what Sunday is asking you to surrender. Hebrews 12:1 calls it the weight that so easily entangles. Not the obvious sin, the weight. The subtle, familiar, comfortable weight that you've carried so long, you've stopped calling it a burden and started calling it just your life. Release it, out loud if you have to. In the quiet of this moment, speak it. God, I release what cannot follow me into what you are building. Step 4. Receive with open hands, not on your timeline, not contingent on external spectacle, not after one more confirmation that you're worthy enough. Right now, as you are, in the middle of a Sunday that looked ordinary from the outside, speak this and mean it. I receive what truth is trying to make clear. I will not let fear disguise itself as wisdom. Lord, if this is a threshold, I will not resist what you are revealing. If this is my Sunday, I will not sleep through it. The miracle chosen one may not be that heaven finally speaks. The miracle may be that you are finally ready to hear without arguing, without negotiating, without asking for a smaller version of the promise, because the full one feels like too much to believe. You have survived too much to receive too little. Take this seriously before the day is over. If you are still listening right now, don't let this stay as emotion. Emotion without obedience is just a feeling that fades by morning. Turn it into a decision. And for many of you, what this Sunday is beginning to reveal is not simply your next step. It is something far deeper. Something the wilderness you've been walking through was never wasting time on. It was building. It was building an identity. 5 specific identities that explain why the road was as hard as it was, and why the person standing at this threshold right now is more equipped than they have ever been told. That is what comes next, and you do not want to miss it. Chosen one, I need you to stay with me right here, because what I'm about to say next is the part most people never get to hear about themselves, not from a pulpit, not from a doctor, not from their children or their closest friends. What the wilderness built in you is not a wound, it is a weapon. You spent years, maybe decades, wondering why God seemed to be taking so long, why the prayers felt like they were hitting the ceiling and falling back down, why the people around you seemed to be moving forward, while something in you stayed rooted in the same quiet, aching place. But here is the truth that will shift everything if you let it land. God was not ignoring you. He was forging you. Forged steel is not born soft. It is born in fire. It is hammered. It is cooled. It is hammered again. And when it finally emerges, it holds an edge that nothing else can hold. That is not poetry. That is your biography. Isaiah 48:10 says it plainly. I have refined you, but not as silver. I have tested you in the furnace of affliction, not the furnace of comfort. Not the furnace of easy Sunday mornings and answered prayers by Tuesday. The furnace of affliction. That is where your character was tempered. That is where your roots went below the frost line so deep that no storm arriving in your future can uproot what God planted in your past. Now let me name what was built, because you deserve to hear it said out loud. You are a seer, not a fortune teller, not someone who predicts outcomes, but someone who has always sensed what others couldn't see. You've walked into a room and known something was wrong before anyone said a word. You've watched a situation unfold and whispered to yourself, I knew that was coming, months before the people around you caught up. They called it overthinking. God calls it discernment. Proverbs 20:12. The hearing ear and the seeing eye, the Lord has made them both. He made yours sharper than most. And this Sunday, that sight is about to be directed at something specific in your own life. You are a pioneer. Pioneers don't get applause when they leave. They get questions, they get resistance, they get the lonely ache of outgrowing rooms that used to fit perfectly. You've felt that ache, haven't you? You've sat at tables where the conversation felt too small. You've stayed in situations your spirit had already left. That wasn't confusion, that was calling. Pioneers don't follow the map, they become it. You are a spiritual warrior. And I want to be careful here, because a warrior doesn't look like what the movies show you. A warrior is not someone who never bleeds. A warrior is someone who has bled and is still standing. You have endured seasons that were designed to break you, loss that should have finished you, silence that should have convinced you God had moved on. And here you are, still present, still watching, still reaching. Psalm 18:39, you armed me with strength for battle, not strength for comfort, strength for battle. That is you. You are a truth carrier. This is the identity that has probably cost you the most relationships. Because truth carriers cannot perform inauthenticity for long. Your soul gets physically sick in environments built on pretense. You've tried to fit into smaller versions of yourself to keep the peace. And every single time it felt like wearing someone else's shoes for a year. The discomfort wasn't a flaw, it was a feature. God wired you to carry what is real, because the world is drowning in what is false. You are a light bearer, not always loud, not always visible. But everywhere you have ever walked, something steadied, something clarified. People have sat across from you in their darkest moments and left that conversation feeling like they could breathe again. You were the lantern carried through storm country when everyone else's light had gone out. John 8:12. Whoever follows me will not walk in darkness, but will have the light of life. That light was placed in you, not for decoration, for direction. Now here is the question that I need you to really sit with before this Sunday ends. What if the reason this Sunday feels so heavy is not because something is going wrong, but because it is naming who you became while nobody was clapping? Your loneliness was not abandonment. It was spiritual hearing being sharpened in the quiet. Your losses were not punishment. They deepened your compassion until it could hold someone else's pain without flinching. Your delays were not God's forgetfulness. They were roots going further and further below the frost line, so that what is coming cannot move you. The oil that anoints a life is never pressed in public. It is pressed in hidden rooms, underweight, in the dark. And what comes out of that pressing, that is what consecrates everything it touches. You were not emptied by those years. You were filled with something the world cannot manufacture and cannot take. If one of those 5 identities described what God built in you, say it right now. I know what the wilderness built. Because chosen one, what was formed in you during the waiting, is exactly what Sunday is preparing to release. And what that release looks like in the 3 specific areas of your life right now, that is exactly where we are going next. Chosen one, I need you to stay with me right here. Because everything I've been building toward, every thread, every question, every moment of recognition, you felt it all converges right now. Right in this place, right on this Sunday. And I need to say something to you that may be the most important thing anyone has said to you in years. You were not abandoned. You were formed. You were not too late. You were being readied. You were not passed over. You were being protected. Protected from arriving before you were strong enough to carry what God had already written with your name on it. And in the silence, in those long, aching seasons where heaven felt distant and your prayers felt like they were dissolving into the ceiling, you were not forgotten. You were becoming the kind of person God does not entrust a weighty assignment to until the soul has been shaped by enough pressure to hold it without breaking. Hebrews 12:11 says it plainly. No discipline seems pleasant at the time, but afterward it produces a harvest of righteousness. Afterward, not during, afterward. And chosen one, your afterward is standing at the door of this Sunday. Now, I need to speak specifically, because there is someone hearing this right now who has quietly accepted a lie so old they stopped recognizing it as a lie. The lie sounds reasonable. It sounds like wisdom. It sounds like maturity. It sounds like this: my best years are behind me, and I am here on this Sunday to confront that lie with everything in me. No, Your usefulness did not expire. No, your wisdom is not decorative. It is not furniture in a room nobody visits. It is a weapon that took decades to forge, and heaven does not waste weapons. No, your waiting was not wasted. Every year you held on when letting go would have been easier. That was not weakness accumulating. That was authority developing. No, your life is not drifting toward irrelevance like a tide going out. And no, the enemy does not get the final interpretation of your years. He does not get to write the conclusion of a story that God is still authoring. Think about Moses, 80 years old, when God finally said, "Now, 80. The world had written him off twice, once as a fugitive, once as an old shepherd in the desert. But God was not running on the world's clock. And when Moses stood at that burning bush, every single year of wilderness was not baggage he was carrying, it was preparation he was wearing. Think about Esther, hidden in a palace, waiting without understanding why. And then the moment came, not gradually, not gently. It came like a key turning in a lock that had been rusted shut for years. Mordecai looked at her and said what heaven is saying to you right now. Who knows whether you have not come to this position for such a time as this? Not someday. Such a time as this. This Sunday. Here is the line I need to land deep in your spirit, and I need you to let it go all the way down before you dismiss it. You will regret missing this Sunday. Not because God is cruel, but because this may be the day your soul finally stops calling preparation delay. Read that again in your spirit. Slowly. Because the enemy's greatest victory over a chosen life is not destruction, it is redefinition. He cannot stop what God has written, so instead he whispers quietly, convincingly, over years, that what looked like delay was delay. That what felt like being overlooked meant you were overlooked. That the silence was rejection, that the waiting was evidence that the promise was never real. And if he can get you to agree with that redefinition long enough, you will walk past the open door because you stopped believing the door existed. This Sunday is cracking that agreement open, like winter finally breaking. Like the final veil lifting in a room you stopped trying to enter. Like a name being called in a quiet station after years of waiting and you suddenly realizing the name they're calling is yours. This is not hype. Hype fades before Monday morning. This is recognition, the kind that changes how you stand, the kind that rewrites how you interpret your own history, the kind that makes a 70-year-old feel the specific weight of purpose, the way only someone who has endured enough to carry it actually can. Your next chapter will not begin with public applause. It will begin with something quieter, more permanent. It will begin with a private agreement between you and God on an ordinary Sunday, where you finally stop arguing with the assignment and simply say yes. That yes is worth more than you know. That yes shifts things in the unseen that your eyes won't immediately see, but you will feel it, like a door that has been jammed for years, suddenly swinging free. So before this Sunday ends, before you set this down and return to the ordinary rhythm of the week, I am asking you directly, make peace with the truth that your life is not winding down into nothing. Do not let this Sunday pass without an honest yes. Because chosen one, what God is about to show you next is not a warning. It is an invitation, and it has your name on it. Chosen one, we have come a long way together in this message. And before I release you into the rest of this Sunday, I need you to understand something that most people will never stop long enough to hear. This Sunday was never about superstition. It was never about fear. It was never about a dramatic sign splitting the sky open above your house in Queens, or your kitchen in Brooklyn, or your quiet room, wherever you are sitting right now. This Sunday is about agreement. That is the word, agreement, because heaven has already been speaking. Heaven has already been moving. Heaven has already been preparing something in the deep places of your life that your eyes have not fully seen yet. The only question left, the only question that actually matters, as this day draws to a close, is whether you will finally agree with what God has been saying about you all along. Psalm 126:5 says it plainly, "Those who sow in tears shall reap in joy." not maybe, not eventually, if conditions improve, shall. That is a decree, that is a promise with no expiration date. And chosen one, you have been sowing in tears for long enough. The harvest does not ask your age. It does not check how many Sundays you almost gave up. It only asks whether you are still in the field. You are still in the field. That alone is the miracle. So right now, wherever you are, I want you to receive this prayer, not as words on a screen, as a direct word released over your specific life, your specific waiting, your specific weariness that you have carried longer than anyone around you fully understands. Lord, let this Sunday not pass as ordinary for the ones you are awakening right now. For every chosen one who came into this day carrying more than they showed, lift it. For every soul who has been grieving quietly, functioning publicly, and aching privately, see them. Break the false finality that told them their best chapter already passed. Lift the fog that turned their expectation into a whisper. Heal the disappointment that trained them to expect less so the loss would hurt less. That is not faith. That is armor they no longer need. For those who feel too old, remind them that Abraham received his promise past the age when the world said it was impossible. For those who have been shrinking themselves to fit spaces they have already outgrown, give them the courage to stand at full height again. For those who almost stopped expecting, restore the holy recklessness of hope. Let older years become the most fruitful years. Let what was hidden in the long winter finally break ground this spring. Let fear lose its voice. Let clarity find its home. Let every listener step into honest agreement with what heaven has already written over their life. In Jesus' name, Amen. Now hear me. This is your commissioning. Do not walk back into this week the way you walked into this Sunday. Do not re-enter the rooms you have outgrown simply because they feel familiar. Familiarity is not destiny. Comfort is not calling. And the version of you that has been surviving inside a life that stopped fitting that version served its purpose. It carried you here, but it does not get to carry you forward. This week, pay attention. Protect your quiet. Refuse the old labels people placed on you years ago that you somehow kept wearing out of habit. Say yes to the clarity that has been trying to reach you. And when the voice of doubt rises, and it will rise, remember what Isaiah 43:19 declares. Behold, I am doing a new thing. Now it springs forth. Do you not perceive it? Do you not perceive it? Chosen one, the new thing does not wait for your comfort. It waits for your agreement. So here is what I am asking you to do right now, before this Sunday ends. In the comments below, type these 7 words. I will not miss what God is revealing. Not for me, for you. Because what you declare out loud, your spirit begins to walk toward. Let your own ears hear your own agreement. And if this message reached something in you that has been waiting a long time to be reached, share it. Right now, think of one person in your life who is in a long waiting season, someone whose hope has gotten quieter year by year. Send it to them, because sometimes the most sacred thing you can do on a Sunday is hand someone else the word that was meant to wake them up. If this kind of message strengthens your walk, stay connected here. Not out of obligation, out of intention. There is more coming. And you were not brought this far to miss what is next. Let me leave you with this. This Sunday may not change because the sky tears open above you. It may not change because a miracle lands on your doorstep before midnight. It may change because something inside you, something that has been locked and waiting and quietly faithful through every hard year, finally agrees with what heaven has been saying all along. That agreement is not small. That agreement is everything. Chosen one, do not let this day leave you unanswered.